and Anna University Regional Campus, Madurai. The pioneering event has been spearheaded by Mr. Vivek Raja, our AWS UG Madurai lead, whose leadership has brought us all together. We have the privilege of hosting two tech titans in the field of cloud computing, Mr. Sheen Brisals, the AWS serverless hero, and Mr. Eric Johnson, AWS principal developer advocate. Their insights are sure to blow your mind and transform the way you approach cloud computing. Together, these two cloud computing giants are set to ignite a revolution in cloud computing landscape. This is an event you simply cannot afford to miss. And for all the knowledge seekers, a brand new AWS library is a gold mine of cloud wisdom. It's not just a library, it's a launchpad to becoming the next cloud computing superstar. Today, we have the pleasure of inaugurating our AWS Cloud Club library, and we are starting it with a very special contribution. Sheen, who has the book of serverless development, is generously donating a copy to our library. This book will serve as a valuable resource for all of us, and we are truly grateful for Sheen's support. Let's officially welcome this book to our collection and express our appreciation for Sheen's contribution. I request Mr. Rahul Gopal, the AWS community builder of ML Engine AI, to receive this book. Is he here? Ask him. I request Mr. Vivek Raja as well to accompany. Book. Get the book. நீங்களும் விவேக் ராஜா சாரும் போய் வாங்கிடுங்க. வாங்க வாங்க. போங்க போங்க புக்கை வாங்கிடுங்க.
So if anyone wrongs it, there is a small note here for all of you now and in the future.
We are adding it in our collection. So, sounds like good. Thank you all. We can take the seat. The event is where innovation meets opportunity. It's where your cloud dreams take flight. So, buckle up for an exhilarating journey into the future of technology. Now, I'm honored to introduce Mr. Vivek Raja PS, the brilliant mind leading AWS user group Madurai. Vivek, the stage is yours.
Hello, everyone. So, good afternoon to everyone who are present here. So, I also welcome Chairman of St. Joseph College of Engineering on absentia, Sheen Brisals, AWS serverless hero, and Eric Johnson, Principal Developer Advocate at AWS, Jeevitha, Cloud Club Captain of St. Joseph College of Engineering, Lakshmi, Cloud Club Captain of PSNA College of Engineering and Technology. The team is present virtually in hybrid mode today. And also Harish Tyagarajan, Cloud Club Captain of Anna University Regional Campus, Madurai, and the couple of champs, AWS Cloud champs, which we call it from User Group Madurai, are all leading it from the respective venues across Tamil Nadu. So, welcome to the first ever hybrid AWS Cloud Club Cross Club event that we are hosting today. So, welcome everyone. I'm Vivek Raja, Vice President of Product at Nextem. So, at Nextem, we build some cool sci-fi futuristic stuff, like it could read your brain waves and it could tell what you think. don't worry, it's not coming to your hands in next couple of years. Don't worry, we won't be able to track what you think. But yeah, apart from that, I am a AWS machine learning hero, and I'm also leading and running AWS user group Madurai, and I'm pretty very excited for this event. So this event is actually very special to me for obvious couple of reasons. It's not a typical meetup structure that we usually do, where we invite speakers to talk on specific topics and it goes by like that. But after like we had some extensive discussions with the speakers over here, and we decided that apart just instead of doing some conventional talks, let's give some value to the students who are present here. So we decided that we wanted to give them something to ponder, something to encourage them, and ask themselves hard questions about where are their careers, how their academics are leading to it, and much more than that. So this introspection is a core objective of today's session. So at the end of the session, we believe that we want yourself to ask more questions about how you wanted to be a better person of yourself, a better engineer, and how you could take some bigger steps in your life. So that will be the core objective of today's session. And we are thrilled to have a fantastic turnout. So we have over 80 plus students present in person at this St. Joseph College of Engineering venue. And we have more than 70 plus students who's joining from the PSNA College of Engineering, which is in Dindakal. And over, I think, believe over 100, I guess, 80 plus or 100 plus students joining from Anna University regional campus from Madurai. So it's even that is spanning across multiple cities today, and this is something an achievement by itself. So to see achievement by itself to make it happen across the cities. Before we move forward, I would like to take a moment to present a small token of appreciation to the speakers and the chairman as well. So I'd like to bring ask them to come onto the stage. Just like how Sheen has donated his book to the library, we wanted to also give a special book, which is much more closer to the people of Tamil and Tamil Nadu. So this book, Tirukkural, is very special to Tamil culture and state of Tamil Nadu. So Sheen and Eric, Tirukkural is a book which is composed of around 1,330 couplets, which gives some values about the life and how you want to lead a life, which is exactly something that we also wanted to give as a talk today. So it is written thousands of years back. So and it still stands a testament of time. So this is a special book we want to give that as a momentum to the chief guest today. So
Thank you.
Karthik sir or Babu, please. So this has a English translation to help you with as well.
Thank you.
So thank you. So this Tirukkural book is describes about everyday virtues, the ethical living, and how we want to lead a balanced and meaningful life. And without further ado, I'd like to hand over the stage to our esteemed speakers who will be sharing their knowledge and insights with us today. I look forward today for a full of learning, inspiration, and thoughtful discussion. Thank you all for being here, and let's make this event happen. Thank you.
HDMI connection. No.
Is it possible?
Yeah, should be.
Or else we have to make you join to that webinar, which will be easy for us to stream.
Okay, whatever. What do we need to do?
You can present from. Is it possible to give a HTML cable? Can you give a HTML cable to here, or would it be better if we stream it over Google Slides?
I guess we can do it live.
Yeah, it's fine.
No, no. It's Windows.
Okay. Okay.
can move it. Yes, sure.
It will help.
That's even better for me because
We need to give them the StreamYard link. Can you also open the browser because you have to share?
oh, that means I need to connect to the Wi-Fi. Which one? Next. It is set.
Can you open the browser?
Can't connect to the network. So what's the password I can enter? Okay. Show me all caps small. Okay, SJCE at 1919. So hopefully that should go. Yes. Cool. Now, what do you want?
We like to go to StreamYard.com slash D. I can type
Oh,
it.
sorry. Yeah. What did I do with my clicker? Clicker here. Hang on. Sorry. Click. Clicky.
I mean, present your slides.
Yeah. Okay. Is there echo? Yeah. Yeah. Browser. Oh no, I didn't present from the browser. Share screen. I think I went there and there's what is the yeah. So what is why is not yeah, yeah. Try to present with right. All set? Is it good? Perfect. Still echo. Okay. Maybe. I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's okay.
It's not going to be a technical talk. I won't, teach you about cloud because I won't even attempt because I just had a demonstration of the robotic features and stuff that you did. I was like, they know everything. They know serverless. So what am I doing here? So today's talk is more of inspiration and inventing yourself, why you are here, what's the purpose of you learning engineering here. So that's sort of way. But before, let me give you a cookie story, as your popular stars usually say, small story about serverless. I know most of you must be familiar. So if you go back in the history of computing, back in those days we had something called mainframe. How many of you heard mainframe? See, one, two, three. That's it. So that was like the origin of engineering, software engineering. Back in those 1950s, IBM used to pioneer mainframe. Mainframes like big boxes, like occupy the entire room and is so massive. And now moving on from mainframe, we had virtual machines. How many of you run multiple operating systems in your laptop? Anyone? Run Windows and Linux? Okay, one or two. Right. So if you're new to virtualization, think like that. You have a server box or a computer, hardware, memory, storage, etc. Then you can kind of use it to share the resources as multiple machines, or give you the feeling that multiple machines. But those are like the virtualization, because they all share the same hardware, but you as a user get a feeling that you're working with a specific computer. This basically paved way to what we have now, the cloud, AWS and other cloud providers. Virtual machines, virtualization, and networking play the crucial part in what we have as cloud today. Okay, so that's where we are with cloud computing. Now, serverless is something on top of cloud. So let's go through a simple evolutionary story of serverless. So serverless, if you are new to serverless, I know many of you must be familiar, it's like Wi-Fi, right? So especially those who are in the front row, I probably will ask you questions. So you need to be careful. What is Wi-Fi? How do you define Wi-Fi? Sorry? Yeah. So I have Wi-Fi here, but I'm not connected to the wires, but there are wires behind the scene, right? You can think of that way, serverless. That means you create a program, you write a program, I don't know, JavaScript, Python. You upload your program to your cloud provider, AWS, and AWS will now deploy your program onto your hardware and run it for you. That means you are not dealing with that machine or the server. It's all to do with cloud provider. So that's kind of the way you think of serverless. Let me give you a different definition. How many of you upload your photographs to cloud? Photo bucket, yeah, quite a few, right? So what you do, you take your picture, do a couple of clicks here and there, your photo gets somewhere else. Do you care where your photo is stored or how it's stored? No, because that is basically a managed service, in a way, serverless service, because you don't deal. You just load or upload one photo or 1,000 photos. You don't care. That's basically the concept of serverless. Now, to give you a quick run through of the history, so I talked about mainframes and networking. So roughly this is, in the timeline, things kind of started off. And around 1996, that's when the cloud as a term started to appear in the industry. It's maybe, way past or before some of you, your days. Now, from there on, things moved on. Back in the early 2000s, Amazon started to experiment with the idea of providing something as a service. So that means we don't need to deal anything with the machines. Somebody else will take care of you. So those experimentations paved way for what we have now as cloud services. So there is a service called SQS from AWS. Anyone knows SQS? Yeah. So the beta early release was 20 years ago. So that means serverless is not necessarily new. It was there 20 years ago, but it wasn't known as serverless. So that name serverless came in afterwards. So around 2012, that's when the serverless name started to appear, just like how the cloud terminology started to appear. Now, with the introduction of AWS Lambda, so that is your function as a service, like as I said, you write your function, upload. That's when the serverless technology and the terminology took off, and then became so popular. And then there are so many services, I'm not going to name all these things, from AWS and other cloud providers, they started to release continuously. So that's kind of roughly the evolution of serverless, okay? And that's probably where we stop talking technology. Let's move on to your story. So if I ask you a question, who are you and what will you become? What would you say? What will you become when you finish engineering? what you will be known? Graduate engineer, right? That's all we are. Be bold, say it. Like, this stand-up comedian, Alexander Babu. Right. So I was watching a clip, and he usually asks the front row people. So he was asking a lady, what's your name? She said, Doctor so-and-so. He was saying, guys, why don't we say engineer so-and-so? Why only doctors say doctor so-and-so? So be bold to say who you are. Now, who is an engineer? Engineer is someone practices engineering, similar to lawyers. They practice law. What exactly is the meaning of engineering? Where is it coming from? Where is it from? Doesn't anyone know? So it's going back to good old Latin. Like so many things in English borrowed from Latin and other languages. So the engineer, that is the source of the word engineer. In Europe, I think in Belgium and other parts, they still use IR like how we use ER here. So that's how the engineer terminology came in. Back in when I was doing my master's, late 80s, early 90s, I used to ride a Yamaha RX100. I think probably that's out of date now. I used to have a sticker there. Still there? Wow, fantastic. I used to have an engineer sticker stuck on the side. I was so passionate. I don't know why. Thinking back, was so good. But the meaning of ingenuity is, so engineer is from the word ingenuity. If you look at the meaning of the word ingenuity in related words, the first hit you get is creativity. So, to be an engineer, number one trait is being creative. What is creative? The next door, I saw creativity with what they had done with the hardware and the software. So that is creativity. Now, first thing is, as an engineer, you need to create yourself. Okay, so you learn all the things here. Lectures, professors give you all the things. But you need to create yourself. That's exactly Benasha said, that rather than finding you, you need to create yourself. But how do you do? Often when we think of creativity, we relate money. Hey, if you learn JavaScript, you can earn this much. Or if you learn Python, you can earn this much. Why don't we say, hey, if you learn Python, you can crack this problem in the data science area. See that way. Money may come later on, but don't get into this sort of money-minded learning or creativity. Think what you can create with the technology that you learn. Okay? Now, how do you create yourself? It's so simple to say, but how do you do? Look at sculptures. I know Tamil Nadu, we have plenty of things, plenty of temples, Mahabalipuram, etc., etc. How do they do? They just sculpture slowly, right? So similarly, there are things that you can go through to create yourself. Listen to technology. Listen to technology leaders as they speak, and then learn. Read books, not just your textbooks and stuff here. Read outside of things. I'm so surprised that some of the technologies they were demoing, it's beyond my imagination, like using Bedrock and things. Even I don't know, actually. I never use Bedrock. Eric has. So think that way. Thinking is so important. So that brings you the analytical mind. I always find thinking brings new ideas. For example, I do quite a lot of talks at the conferences on various topics. Even this one, when we agreed to give a talk, how I came up with this idea? I always go out for a walk. I go out for a walk for 1.5 to 2 hours. I don't use my headsets or headphones when I walk. My ears are free always. And come back, when I come back, I will have ideas. So that's how this and so many other blogs and conference talks I create happen. Now, imagination. Imagination brings you the innovation. So think all these things as you grow as an engineer and you kind of, go out of this wonderful place into the world. Right, the next thing to be, be creative is opportunities. Okay, now I was at the reception area downstairs earlier on, and there was a caption that about opportunities. Okay, because that was about missing the opportunities. I was saying to Eric that I have a similar thing in my slide, and I thought maybe you already know. The way we kind of find opportunities is based on our mentality. Someone will say that, hey, there is a job. You need to go 8 till, say, 4 o'clock. Then you will say, Mama, why 8 o'clock? I won't even get up. That is, you are choosing your comfort zone and making, a difficult choice. Rather than say somebody else, hey, Macha, there's a job there, part-time job. It starts at, half an hour after you finish your other job. Then he may think that, oh, maybe there is some value for me. So that is what this quote is saying. Being a pessimistic mind versus being optimistic, making use of the opportunities. And when it comes to opportunities, the way I look at two ways. One, there are opportunities that we need to find. Then two, we need to create opportunities. We can do both. To give you an example. So you are there as an engineer, and as Mahatma Gandhi said, the future depends on all of you. And what do you do today? What did he mean? So let's say this one. We all know that, right? Spider web. And on the other side, I have a honeybee. What is so common between these two? You may think nothing. Why spiders build web? Spider web. Why? Catch flies, right? And because it needs flies because to eat. That's its food. And webbing, building a web takes a long time for a spider, a small spider. And there is no guarantee that a fly will come on immediately because it's found the web. It will try to avoid. But what the spider is doing is creating an opportunity for its future needs. If it didn't make the web, it's not going to trap any flies. That means it will go hungry. So this is an example of creating opportunity. How about the honeybee? What is it doing? What does a honeybee do? It flies, visits thousands of flowers because the expectation is there is a bit of honey, right? So honey as an opportunity is already there across different flowers. The bee now needs to find those opportunities. If it sat in its hive, nobody is going to feed with a honey or a sugar syrup. It has to move out of its hive and find opportunities. So this is a way of thinking how you can kind of create and find opportunities in your career. Education is wonderful, but you need to go beyond to be creative. So this is a picture of like around 250 people. Just like you and me, you guys, young engineers, less than 5 years in the industry. I think there may be even students in the picture. You may not recognize any face. I know two women engineers in the picture. So this is from AWS reInvent conference. If you know AWS reInvent conference, who knows about AWS reInvent conference? Right, it's one of the biggest technology conferences in the world. It gets more than 65,000 people into this wonderful city of Las Vegas. Okay? However, AWS offers opportunities for everyone, especially young engineers, women in tech, underprivileged community via this program. Okay? So that means if you just sit here, we won't get a chance. We need to find it, we need to apply for it. When you apply, you need to justify why AWS should give you a chance to attend this conference. When I say attend the conference, they will pay you the return flight tickets to Vegas from wherever you are. They will give you the conference, they will, free entry, which was more than $2,000. They will give you 5-star accommodation for 5 nights in a hotel in Las Vegas. They will give you $250 spending money for the week. It's a week-long conference, 5 days, Monday to Friday. And then they also give you Uber credits to get you from the airport to the hotel and back. So you get all this free. On top, from countries like maybe from India where you can't get visa appointment for time, they even allow you to go the next year. So an opportunity. So keep in mind, as you start your new career, look for these things to apply. So this is exactly creating, finding opportunities. Right, the next one, as an engineer, you should be curious. When we say curiosity, what comes to your mind? Asking questions, right? Finding answers. The good example for this are the children. I'm not going to ask you, some of you may have younger, sisters or brothers, 4-year, 5-year-old. They keep asking, why is that way? What is it? Etc., etc. And what do? Shh, keep quiet. I have something else to do. We always shut them down, right? So you need to always ask questions. Often we say that I'm sorry to ask, and also say, I could be wrong, but never say those words, okay? Never apologize when you ask a question. Ask a question. There are no wrong questions. But as in our culture, we do something wrong. As a child, we grow up asking questions, okay? Now, when the child comes to school age, primary school, for example, they stop asking questions because they are frustrated. They don't get any answers. Now they are forced to answer to questions, like mugging up all the things at school, and that continues. That is a problem. So I know we can't do anything, but that's the way we are. Because we are coming into answering questions rather than asking questions. And I found these things from the internet. I thought very, very kind of useful thing. Solving problems, so important. So I work, I quit my job earlier this month, but when I work with engineers, I don't present them with solutions. Oh, here is the architecture, go and build it. I don't do that. So when the team brings a new feature or new development requirement, I tell 1 or 2 engineers, ask them to come up with the architecture or design. They will struggle. I know they will struggle. That's exactly the reason why I ask them to do. Because that's what makes them to go around and ask questions to people. So they come back to me with their initial solution. Then I ask many questions. Why did you put this database here? Why did you put a queue there or a function there or this here, etc., etc.? Then they go confused. They go back, they ask more questions to people and come back. So this is all part of engineers' learning culture. Keep that in mind. When you go to an industry, it's not going to be that easy. You won't find your friends around to give you all the answers. You need to ask questions to get the answers. Right, so the next one is, as part of the curiosity, you need to challenge yourself. So this guy here, compared to Bernard Shaw and all the grey-haired, beard people, is an young chap. He's from the UK. I only came to know him earlier this year because someone else recommended this book. This guy is a university dropout. But he built startups. He made startups. He failed, tried again, succeeded. He came up with his successful YouTube show, and that's how the name came in the Diary of CEO with the principles. What he's saying here is like if you have a comfort life, like I mentioned early on about the opportunity, you may feel like comfortable, but that means you are like you are wasting an opportunity. So challenge yourself, and that's what make you a better engineer. Now there are so many ways we can do. How many of you read books outside of your engineering studies? Right, cool. Keep it going, keep it going. And if I encourage you, the Goodreads, how many of you know? Anyone knows Goodreads? Cool, good, good, good. So this is a website, you can register free, just to create a profile, and you can kind of keep a log of the books you read, the books you wanted to read, the books you are reading. And you can make friends with your friends in there so that you will come to know what they are reading. So that may influence you to read. And what you are reading may influence your friends to read. So it's a way of good ecosystem of creating that culture. And also, you can set challenges. So this year, 2024, I want to read 10 books or 15 books or 20 books, whatever. So then you can achieve the target. There's no, hard and fast rule. Other thing is, if you start reading, you can become a good writer. Just write something every day. It doesn't matter. You don't need to write in a good vocabulary. That's only in the Indian English newspaper you find these days. Everyone else moved on. If you look at any of the newspapers in the UK or in the States, most common newspapers people read, you will find simple English vocabulary. That's exactly the world writers now do. They use simple vocabulary so that everybody can understand. Obviously, I mean, the whole reason why we are writing is because for others to read. If you use hard vocabulary, no one reads. So it's not that hard. You don't need to be a good writer. There are options, Medium, blog site. I have a Medium channel. I have all my technology and life blogs there. Substack is also there. So use these opportunities and challenge yourself in your day-to-day. Learn new skills. AWS Skill Builder. You have a good ecosystem of Cloud Club here. And this gives you the opportunity to get certified, maybe. Certification, I'm kind of 50-50 because don't certify for the sake of certification. Certify as you learn, because the whole point of certification is you should know what you learned, okay? Because in the industry, if you go with the certification, if you don't know the stuff, you know what will happen, right? So keep that in mind. And then join the communities. The meetup group, I know there are few user group meetups in Chennai. There is a AWS user group where Eric and I are speaking on Tuesday evening. I'm sure there are so many data science, Python, Java, JavaScript, so many user groups in Chennai. So make use of those opportunities. The good thing is, in Chennai or in India, usually the meetings are during weekends. Whereas in London, for example, they happen usually in the evenings, whereas here there are challenges for people to get time off. Right, so challenging is often making a start. That is the biggest challenge for everyone. We always push it off. And unless you make a start, you don't know whether you become successful or not. You may fail, but you don't know unless you make a start. The fear of failure is the reason why so many engineers never start something new, something learn or something write, because of the same reason. The thing is, if you don't start, you don't know what's going to happen. Think of all the startups people create with the software engineers. Only 10% of those startups become successful. 90% fail. But do they stop? No, because they take failure as a learning and move forward. So keep that in mind. And
be passionate. So this is a big thing, especially in the modern education system. We learn for the sake of learning. Why we learn? Why we study engineering? Or because my parents pushed me, or my uncle said, or aunt said, etc., etc. Then we lose the passion. Bring the passion into what you're learning, whatever be your kind of specialty. So bring that in. And that's how, that's what makes you going. Because if you don't have a passion, then you will lose your steam. So be passionate in your professional, profession, in what you're doing. Now, how do you find your passion? So I visited my in-laws family yesterday. There is a young chap who is doing second-year engineering, computer science, in a different college. So during our lunchtime conversation, so I asked him, what are you passionate about? He went blank. He didn't know what to answer. He thought a long time, said, I don't know. Honest question, honest answer. I appreciated that. He didn't know. So this is when you need to dig deeper. Has anyone heard of this music troupe, young people? They are from the mid-90s, based in Manchester, UK. They came up with their, the most popular song. And the lines you will like. You need to search inside yourself to find a hero. And that's how you will find the passion. I will have the link at the end of the slide, and the slides will be shared if you want to listen, or you can go through the lyrics on Google. And that's how you find your passion. Talk to your friends. Hey, I don't know what I'm interested in. So then they will ask, hey, don't you, are you not good at, I don't know, Python or something else, or robotics? And then that will have a conversation between your friends. That's how you kind of, find yourself, your passion. Don't just do for the sake of doing. Do something that interests you, because that's what keeps you going. Because when you have passion, you can kind of do the dedication. You can dedicate time to proceed. When you are dedicated, even if there are challenges, you will persevere. You will struggle and get through that. And only then the victory will come. Even if that is not the victory, as the scientists said, you won't fail. What you will find is the way that it didn't work. So you can always, change course. So think of that. Be passionate in whatever you're doing. Now, the next one, this is important one. If you want to be an engineer, you need to be credible. Honestly, how many of you Googled Eric Johnson, Sheen, Brisals when you first heard our names? Just two, I'm disappointed. Okay. Now, okay, thank you. Okay. Now, we do that because we want to make sure these guys coming here are credible enough to talk about the topics they are going to talk about, right? We do that fact check. I go to conferences, I know many speakers, I know what they're going to speak, I may or may not go. But when I see a title and of an interesting talk, and I don't know the speaker well, I immediately Google. Then I find, this person has been in the ML. That's exactly how I found Vivek. I've been following Vivek for a long time. Because I was like, who is this young chap talking about machine learning and all sorts of things? Already a hero. And first time we met a few months ago, but I've been kind of following him. This is credibility. When it comes to credibility, first thing is, I think this is important in this current world. You need to identify yourself. Be yourself. Every other identity is already taken. I know we already inherit identity because, we have parents. So we have some kind of identity, put on us. That's fine. But try to have your own identity. It is so common. It's so common in films, right? So is it helmet compulsory in Chennai? Yeah, okay. So you forgot your helmet. You're going on. A honest police officer pulled you over. Okay, come on, stand here. Where is your helmet? So you go there. You have a look. என்ன தெரியுமா? You know me? And he will say, yeah, தெரியுது, நான் நிற்கல. என் அப்பா யாருன்னு தெரியுமா? Do you know my father, my grandfather, grandfather? Why? You are standing there, committed a crime. You are a criminal at that point. We have your identity. Your dad, mom, etc., etc., they have their own identities. That's fine. But be yourself. This is very important in this our world. This is so commonly misused. I heard this story. I think it's a real story a while ago. There was a billionaire. It's like a educated, proper millionaire or billionaire. And he had a young son. And he was like coming up to 4 or 5 years, going to the, starting the school age. So he started school. So at the school, everyone kind of looked him differently. Oh, rich kid, billionaire kid, etc., etc. The small boy got so annoyed or so frustrated. One day he came home and asked, Dad, are we rich? Typical, kid's question. You know what Dad said? Son, I am rich. You are not. That's the mentality that we should have. The kid should earn his richness, not just simply live in the shadow of his dad. Okay? So, as an engineer, it's so important to focus you in your CV. Who are you? What credibilities you have? How many, projects you have in your GitHub repository? How many certifications you have? How many courses you completed? All about you. And importantly, when you sit in front of an interviewer, don't say that when they ask about your, the project or anything. Oh, we did this thing. We had a wonderful team. We, worked together. If I have the interview, I'll stop right there. I want to know what your contribution in this project. That is absolutely important. Keep that in mind. I know you probably have a year to go to the industry. Keep that in mind. It's about you that I'm interested. I'm not hiring the team. I'm hiring you. So keep that in mind. And who are you? What are you in a team? Your contribution. Take your specialization in your team environment. Contribute. Don't just become, 10 plus 1 person. Have your identity. Have your say in your team. For example, my previous team, there was an engineer who was so passionate about what we call in the industry, it's observability. Okay? Observability, anyone know the meaning? Monitoring, don't know. Who buys online stuff? Who buys things from online websites? Okay, cool. What do you feel when the website is slow? Yeah, so it's so slow, frustrating. Or worse, if website is down, you go somewhere else, right? So the team that operates the website, they usually monitor it behind the scene. This is what we call the observability. They observe what's going on so that before it becomes an issue, they can sort out. So an engineer who specializes in that, any issue to do with application issues, he is the go-to person. So that is his identity in the team. So have something like that as you. And then importantly, who are you in the community, like what we discussed earlier. Find your niche. This is easy to say, but again, like your passion, the world is full of generalists, people who can do everything. But when you look for specialization, you don't find everyone. Everyone will say, I'm a cloud engineer, I'm a cloud engineer. You start talking about security, they go blank. You go talking about networking, they go blank. Because they don't dig deeper into those areas. This is where your passion will come in to identify that special area that you are interested, that you can become an expert, and then you bring value to the company where you work for or whoever employs you. So this is so important that you find your own niche. You know this saying, right? Can someone complete it? Jack of all trades, master of none. Exactly. So don't fall into of course, we probably need to do many things, you need to know many things, but you need to find your own specialized area. Like there are so many areas in the industry. So we had like the robotic related stuff, and there's a data and data science, security, networking, programming. Programming has so many different aspects. You can kind of, get specialized, get stronger in what you're learning. If you're learning Python, nail it before you kind of move on to something else. So that means you become an expert. And humility. As Gandhi said, you need to be a service-oriented person. See human as human. When you go out of the university, when you work with other people, see them as human. Be kind and humble. There is a book called The Leader Who Had No Title. It's written by Robin Sharma. Has anyone read Robin Sharma's book? Yeah? Okay. So it's from him. It's a kind of fiction story, but the point is like, if you want to make an impact in your organization or in your society, you don't need a title. You don't need to be a director or a vice president or whoever. You can be you can still make the difference. So that is kind of the humility that you should have. And being kind, have a smile, talk to people who provide you like food at the canteen or keep this place clean. Have a smile at them or say hello. They will appreciate that. Protect your character. Okay? I know again I'm going to refer to one of your favorite stars. He mentioned in one of the functions. It's originally kind of quoted by Billy Graham. It's like this. If you lose wealth, you lost nothing. You can always earn it back. Okay? If you lose health, you lost something, because depending on your health issue, you may struggle. If you lose your character, you lost everything. That is happening across the world. You can see there are so many stories. That's why it's so important that God, your character, protect your identity, be you, and don't try to, imitate somebody else and fall into the trap. Okay? And finally, let me finish with the other trait. Be employable. If you don't remember anything from my talk, remember this. When you go out, you should become employable. You might be thinking, Sheen, big at campus recruitment, we all get employed, which is good, but that's not your, final job. That is just your beginning, right? So that's why I always say that when you go for an interview, you should always think, why would the company should hire you? Say you are a new graduate, you had all your ceremonies, photos taken in Instagram, and etc., and you are coming with your CV, etc., to my team, sitting in front of me for an interview, and you are ready because you know everything. How many semicolons you can put in Java or where to put semicolon, etc. Then I will start the conversation and I will ask you completely different questions. And you will be blinking there, absolutely no idea. Communication is so vital. I'm sure your organization, the university or the campus provides you all these things. How you collaborate, work with other engineers. Okay? So that is crucial in a team environment. Most teams have 5, 10 people. You are not on your own. What do you contribute? Okay? And then, are you a leader or a follower? So many of us fall into this trap. It's so easy to be a follower, right? Someone give you the instruction, you do the work. There's no difference between a typist and a software engineer in that case. Be a leader. Take initiative. Cloud Club captains, these are the leadership roles you can emulate early on. There are so many opportunities for you. Even in your own project, you take leadership. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but that's something you need to develop. There are so many books available, how to become a leader, what are the characteristics of a good leader, how to work in a team environment. read those things. I know that, there's so many books that are suitable for you at this age. You don't need to have a 10 years experience in the industry. And programmer or an engineer, always think you as an engineer. You're not just a developer or a programmer, okay? You need to do beyond programming. You need to architect systems. You need to kind of, look after your estate, security, network, all the things that I mentioned. So think those things when you think of your career, okay? And this is good one. Because, when someone says, attribute somebody, he's a very hard-working fellow. Yeah. Maadu மாதிரி உழைக்க பண்ணிடுவாங்க. like working like a bullet. Yeah. Don't do that. Okay? Work like a human being. Because we have this to work. We don't need the muscle power like a bullock, pulling the cart, etc. That's the reason. Don't work like a animal. Work like a human being. So that's where your ingenuity should come in. And then your trustworthiness and what you learn. This question I ask every candidate I interview. Prove me you are a learner. Many go blank. How do you answer if I ask you, are you a good learner? How do you learn? Show me, prove me. You can prove many ways. Get a profile. So if you have number of projects you can share, that shows that you're learning, you're doing things. And Goodreads I mentioned, you can show me the books you read, or you can show me the articles you wrote. These are all outside of what you learn here. These are the things kind of employees will look for as a creative person, as an engineer. So think that way. Always ready to show people that you are a good learner. You have certifications or courses completed. They all attribute to your learning to show that you are learning. Simply saying that, oh sir, I'm learner, I get email, newsletters, etc. No, that's not enough. You need to go deeper and you need to be specific and concrete with what you provide to others. And just show this one. I know maybe it's different. And as I mentioned that as you go out of the university, commonly there are two paths. Okay? You might have been told this one, but I'm just repeating. But you will find a slight variation. You need to understand these things so that you can make the right choices. So you either take a technical path or a leadership path as an engineer. So what do I mean by the technical path? So you start as a graduate engineer, junior engineer, whatever be the designation. You spend 1 or 2 years, then you become an engineer, then you grow as a senior engineer, and then become a lead engineer, and you grow staff, principal engineer, and then senior principal engineer, and finally somewhere you become a fellow. So this is one way of thinking. I know not all companies follow this path, but this is roughly what you will go through. So know the requirements of each of those, the levels. Who is a principal engineer? What do they do? Who is a fellow? In AWS, there are quite a lot of fellow engineers. They are top pork chaps. They challenge anyone. They are like, the most senior. They don't care whether they become director or a VP. They are top, tech cookies. And if you think of the leadership path, you obviously start as an engineer. Then as you become senior and move beyond, you slowly change towards the management or leadership. Okay? This is not easy as an engineer moving to leadership. This is where you need to know how to deal with the people. That's very important. So often, many engineers get promoted without that experience. So that's exactly the reason why I was advising for you to read on leadership before you take up the position. Then it goes off, VPs and executives and things so on and so forth. So roughly to show you the paths that you can take when you go out of the university. And complacency. So this is a big killer in our industry. Our dear president once said, this. Don't love your company, but your job. You know what happens? You get a campus interview, and said, oh, macha, I'm settled down. So you go to your parents, usually to mother, I think I probably am ready to get married or something. They'll ask, Yenda, no, I got a job, I'm settled. If it's for a girl, they'll say, that's it. Let's look for, Mapalayak and now you can settle. I mean, that's the reality, right? But we should try and move beyond that. Don't just sit idle that, okay, now I got the job, whether it's a big company or a small company, okay? Think as your first step. And it's a journey. Your career is a journey. It's not just one destination, you go, you're out of the university. What do you call this one? Stepping stone, right? Exactly, think that way. Your first job is basically a stepping stone. It's just showing you the industry for you, industry to get experience. And then you take another step, move forward. And set your career goals. Is something important in the industry, especially when we come to evaluate an engineer as part of their 6 months or 1 year review. We ask, what do you want to be in 5 years' time or 3 years' time? Set your goals and work towards it. There's something called working backwards. If you want to ask more, ask Eric, because it's from Amazon. What they do is, when they think of bringing out a new product, okay, say Bedrock, as I mentioned earlier on, they write how they are going to announce this product to the world before they even started doing anything. That is that final goal. Then they work backwards. From there, they slowly build things. So think that way. In 5 years' time, you want to become this engineer. Now you divide how you make the progress and move forward. And get yourself occupied and things that we mentioned. Finding a good mentor, an important one. Finding a good mentor. You have to find when you go to the industry. These are the guys who will help you, who will sit with you, who will understand you and help you to move forward. So there was an engineer I worked with early on, and one day she said, Sheen, I'm so confused. I need a time. Okay. So I said, okay, book me a time, book me a room. Let's talk. And she said, I have all these problems. So 10 or so things. I said, okay, write down on the board. Then I asked, what is the most important thing in this? And she said this one. Okay, move it up. How about the other things? Okay, so these are the things like this. Then I asked, out of this, how many things you can control? How many things are beyond your control? Then she split that into 2 lists. Then I said, okay, go through, work one by one. Give you an example. Studying for your exam, something you can control. What you get as questions in the exam is beyond your control. So you can prepare for the exam, that's you control. So think that way. And mentors will help you to do all sorts of things, not just grow technically. The one I mentioned, the reinvent participation, they will understand your needs and help you, show you the path. As an engineer, try to solve problems. For that, you need to constantly update yourself. Okay? Now, continuous learning gives you plenty of ideas, knowledge for you to solve. And keep that in mind. One of the difficulty is like problem solving. That's why you need to understand fundamentals. Do you learn when you start computer engineering these days, do you learn the gates and the assembly language and things? Yeah? You understand OR gate, AND gate? Okay. If you do, one day read this book, Code. It's from one of my favorite authors, Charles Petzold, because in my early 90s, he used to write plenty of books on Microsoft. So read this book. It talks about how bits, bytes, all the way to the whole computing, how we do. It's a hard read, but if when you have time, make a start. Understand the fundamental. That's so important because, like Steve Jobs said, if you're a smart person, you don't want others to tell you what to do. You should be telling or informing the place where you work what is best for them. That is the expectation from you. That's exactly the leader follower mentality I mentioned. So keep that in mind. And as this book says, the hardest problems we face as engineers is problem decomposition. That's why there are so many ways that you can break down the problem, and even in life, in engineering, to solve problems. And this book, I don't know if anyone read this book. Yeah? Oh, good, good, good. Yes. It's reflected here. It's not a technical book. It's a funny story. Yesterday I visited the family, and I was talking about these things, and the boy said, "Oh, are you talking about the blue book?" I said, "Yes." "Are you talking about the book with the flowers?" I said, "Yes, I have it." Oh, so he disappeared into his room and brought this book back. And then I asked him, "Did you read it?" No. Said, "Read it." Okay? It's about Japanese lifestyle and things, but it talks about life. How can you solve problems? For example, my visit to India this week, if I take it as a whole, it's so complicated. I was in Bangalore and I was traveling here, tomorrow, etc., etc. Then I break it down, part by part. Okay, in Bangalore, what am I doing? Okay, I did this talk or did this thing. So that way, you structure your day or structure your talks, and that gives you the ability to solve complex problems. Right. So all the resources are here. I will share with you. And to finally finish, to be an engineer, be creative, develop the curiosity, and develop your identity to be credible, and most importantly, become employable and be an engineer. Thank you so much. It's a huge, huge honor to be here and speaking. Thank you all. Go forth, prosper.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, you mentioned earlier AWS Builder Grant, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to know what are the criteria for getting into it?
Yeah, so the top level criteria, you should be under 5 years in the industry. Yeah, that's the main thing I know of. And then beyond that, you just apply. They don't, it's for the entire world. They don't discriminate with, country or anything. They actually encourage application from underprivileged communities or developing countries or women in tech. Okay, so there are no boundaries. Last year, I casually mentioned to 2 engineers, and I didn't even know they applied. And when October, they just messaged me, Sheen, wow, I got it. I was like, what did you get? Oh, this one. One engineer, she's from Romania. Another engineer, she originally is from South America. And this year also, I asked a few engineers to apply. And as long as I know, under 5 years is the main thing.
Any other question? Yes.
From the hybrid locations, you can go with PSNA college. If you have any questions, can you unmute yourself and ask? Yeah, I think
Hello, sir.
Divya here. Can you speak? We'll just make sure that you're audible.
Yes, sir. Hi, sir. I'm Divya Lakshmi, AWS Cloud Club Captain of PSNA College of Engineering and Technology. Thank you for the session, sir. And I have two questions. Firstly, in your point of view, who is a successful engineer,
Sorry,
sir?
I think 1 second. We'll just check if the audio is working. We can't hear you. Just give us a second.
Okay, sir.
Can you speak?
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Can you switch to? Can you speak now?
Hello, sir. Is it audible, sir?
Yeah, now it's audible. Yes.
Okay. Good evening, sir. I'm Divya Lakshmi, Cloud Club Captain of PSNA College of Engineering and Technology. And the session was amazing, and we had a great opportunities to know about engineering. So I have two questions, sir. Firstly, in your point of view, who is a successful engineer, sir?
Wow, wow, wow. A successful engineer is a satisfied engineer. So, with a passion and everything, if you're satisfied with what you're doing, if you think that you're contributing to the engineering side of the world, I think that's, for me, it's a, successful engineer. Now, if you take my career, it's probably a bad example. I chose not to grow vertically. I kind of grew, horizontally. I changed the position. I became from a principal engineer, I became a senior engineer purely because of my love for technology. I wanted to learn these different things. I was like switching over. To me, that's probably a successful engineering career. That's exactly the reason why I'm here today. But for you, probably you choose, a management or leadership kind of thing. So as long as you are satisfied in what you're doing and your passion still there, I think that's a success to me. Nice to meet you, by the way. I know we are connected online.
Yes, sir. Yes. Thank you, sir. And secondly, what are the secret plans of AWS for graduating students?
Secret plans for graduating students.
Yes, sir.
Um, I think that's probably Eric's question. I don't know. I can't answer that. Yeah, so, bring it back or we'll keep the.
Nobody
Okay, sir.
tells me.
Yeah, you're on.
Okay. Nobody tells me secret plans. They don't tell me anything, really, honestly. Is that what it was? Secret plans? Okay. But I will tell you that AWS offers internships. If that's what we're talking about? We have an internship program. Someone actually reached out to me today, and I posted back. If you just look up AWS internship, we're always looking for people. We love students. We love to help out students. I hope that's what you were asking. I didn't catch the whole question, but is that what you were asking about what for future students coming out and going into AWS?
Yes, sir. Exactly.
Okay, good. Okay, yeah. So as far as secret plans, I got nothing, but hopefully that helps.
All right. Do you have any further
you,
questions, Divya Lakshmi?
Sir, at last one question, sir.
Yeah.
So, what are the books that can you suggest for us to boost our engineering creativity, sir?
In terms of books,
Yes, sir.
it's hard to identify one or two. There are a number of books because
Okay.
it depends. Like when you enter the industry, you go with sort of programming skills or what you learn from the the university. But in an industry, you come across patterns and practices, how to build long-lasting applications. Those things you won't learn from here. And there are a number of books. So that's one stream. And there are different areas of software engineering. So that's why I always believe that it's a continuous kind of learning or journey. And the books will come as you kind of, go through the industry, because some books you may not understand. For example, my book here, sitting on the shelf, not everyone is going to understand the content, because it kind of, identifies the development cycle in the industry that you are yet to experiment. Okay? So rather than identifying these books, keep an open mind. Keep an eye on all the books that are part of the conversations in the industry or community or talks, and then grow from there. I mean, of course, the fundamentals kind of side, there are plenty of books you can learn. I think you must have operating system in your course. Those things are fundamental, algorithms and etc. etc. Beyond that, it's more of the industry, the engineering side of books.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does University have any questions from their end? Praveen, do you have any questions from your end, or can we proceed with the next? Okay, I think okay, I think we have one question coming from live stream. So Karthik is asking, can you share any experience or influence that shaped your, sorry, I couldn't read the full statement, but yeah, that's a question on.
Share experience or influence that shaped your understanding of what it means to be an engineer. Right, so yes, I was fortunate early on to work amongst great engineers, not just software engineers, but also civil, mechanical, and all sorts of engineers when I first took my job. There have been so many inspirations that shaped. So I remember one of my manager, his name was Yogi. So humble person. He is an IIT master's person, number of experience, worked in so many industries, building antennas and things like that. So humble. One of the first things that I experienced him was, I was asked to do a small program back in those days using C. So I did. And he was supposed to be doing some kind of graphical design where you need to draw the lines and things like that. I was so happy. So mouse was there and things. So I invited him to have a look. I was so eager to, show him. He sat down on the chair. The first thing he did was he moved the mouse there. I was like, oh, it's not going to work. And he wanted to try with keyboard, and it didn't work. I was sweating there. But you know what he did? He said to me, think others when you build software. So that I still remember, because so true. Because I took it for granted, because as an engineer I had the mouse with me. I just assumed that everyone is going to use that. So like this, there are so many occasions in my long career that I learned, I observed, that shaped my understanding of the engineering world as a whole. Yeah.
Okay, I think Karthik, I guess that answered your question. So, University, do you have any questions, or can we move forward to the next talk? All right, I think we can go with the next. Thank you. So, amazing talk, Sheen. We loved it. It was great.
Thank you. Thank you all online.
So up next we have Eric coming up, and it's about the attitude of iteration. Stage is yours.
All right. Well, I have no slides, just me, this is going to be even less technical than what Sheen had to do. That was a big lie. There was a lot of tech in there. But and I want to take a quick minute and say, if you just had a real treat. It was funny because one of the other guys that I work with, Gunnar, said, take care of Sheen. He's a gem. Sheen is kind of a big deal in our industry, and he probably doesn't like me saying all this because he is humble. But I just want you to understand, he brings a lot of wisdom, and I appreciate it. Well done. Thank you very much. So, my name is Eric Johnson. Can you all understand me? Can you hear me? Okay. Do I need to speak slower? Would that help? Because what people tell me is I tend to talk really fast. I am from the United States. I have an accent. I don't think I do, but some do. But today we're going to be talking about challenges. Okay. Now, before I get started, and hopefully you can see me out there too. But before I get started, I want to give you a couple of rules when I'm talking. Okay. And you may be thinking, who are you to make the rules? Well, I have the mic, so I'll make the rules. But maybe rules are a little strong. But the first one is this. These are guidelines to when I'm talking. They'll help you understand what I'm saying, okay? So the first rule is this. This is any number I want it to be. Okay, you may be looking at it and going, that's a 1. We all know that's a 1. But I'm going to tell you that it's a 7 or a 20 or a 35 or something like that. Okay? The second rule is these are quotes, not apostrophes. And I know that. Okay? Now, a lot of you are looking at me very serious. Okay? It's like, does he know he's different? I do know I'm different. The last rule is these are thumbs. I do this all the time. So, because this is like, hey, thumbs up, stuff like that. So these are the rules. You'll see that as I'm talking. But I do know that I'm different. Okay? I was born this way. Not today. I didn't wake up today for the first time. If I did, I wouldn't be here with you. I'd be somewhere very freaked out. But I'm comfortable with this. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about becoming comfortable with who you are, right? I'm very comfortable with the way I was made. However, and I'm going to make a lot of one-finger jokes today, if that makes you uncomfortable, I'm also comfortable with that. So I'm going to be good either way. So I hope you relax, you'll play, you'll joke with me. These are jokes. I'm not easily offended. I'm very open. I'll answer questions and things like that. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to ask you a question, and you don't have to raise your hand. You may not want to, and maybe I'm not sure culture-wise and things like that, but I'm going to ask this anyway. How many of y'all remember your first date? Okay, exactly. Let me rephrase the question. How many of y'all are waiting for your first date? Okay, there I'm seeing some hands. All right, okay, fair enough. I saw some people like, and they're thinking to themselves, is he going to help me get a date? No. But I'm going to take a few minutes and I'm going to tell you about my first date. Okay, it was just a couple of years ago. I'm pretty young. Okay. My first date was in high school. I was in high school. I went to high school in the United States. I'm from Arizona. If you're not familiar with Arizona, it's hot, but nowhere near as hot as the food you eat here in India. I will tell you that right now, okay? They took me out to lunch today and they said, oh, eat that, it's not hot. Guess what? They were lying. Okay, I am currently on fire, but I'm holding it together till we get done here. So, I've learned that Indian food in Colorado, not Indian food, okay? Not hot. So, but anyway, I was born in Arizona. Went to school in Arizona. My first date was in Arizona. Now, this girl, I had been watching her from afar, not in a creepy way, but I knew I was in love. Obviously, I was a sophomore in high school because I knew what love was, right? So I was in love with her, so I wanted to ask her out on a date, okay? So I worked up the guts and I called her on the telephone, and her mom answered, so I hung up because that's what you do. Come on, guys. These guys are like, I wouldn't do that. Liars. And your food's not hot, okay? So I called her again. Her mom answered. I hung up. So this went on for quite a while. And finally I called, and her mom answered, and she said, literally, she said, don't hang up, whoever you are. Okay. So I asked her out on a date, got her on the phone, asked her on a date. So here's how the first date was going to happen. Now, when I was a high schooler, and I asked her on this date, and this was the plan they wanted to do, I thought it was a horrible idea. They wanted me to come to her house, have dinner with their parents, get to know them, and that would be our first date. Now, I am now currently a father of 5. Yeah, you're like, thank you. End of conversation. So, yes, I'm a father of 5. That's not a 1, that is a 5. I have 3 boys. I have 2 girls. Those are entirely different animals. But as a father of daughters, I now get it. I thought this was awesome. Yes, this is, but as a high schooler, it was not a great idea. So anyway, so I'm going over to her house. I'm driving my dad's truck. This is important to the story. It'll come in later. We get to the house, and we're sitting around the table, and I've met her mom and her dad and her brother, and we're all sitting around the table, and we're having franks and beans. Very standard American fare right there, you know. And so as we're getting through the meal, I've eaten most things. I haven't spilled anything yet. It's very common for me to spill. I spill a lot. Has nothing to do with my hands. I just spill, okay? And so the mom, I had got thirsty. I said, hey, can I have some more lemonade? And they said, yeah, you can have more lemonade. Now, I don't know if you have this here, so, and maybe you'll laugh and go, of course we have that here. No, we've never heard of it. Anybody heard of Tupperware? Okay, all right. So you understand plastics, they snap on, things like that, right? Well, back in the 80s, they were like this big, okay? And this gets bigger every time I tell the story, right? So like this big, right? So they asked me, I said, hey, can I have some more lemonade? They said, sure, and they handed me the jug. And I remember looking at him like, oh, you want me to pour? Have you not met me? Okay, I'll pour. So I took the lemonade, and of course it's full. It's never empty. It's always full. And I pour, and that lid didn't even try. The lemonade, it's like one of those wave machines from the 80s. You remember. Most of them don't, but I know you remember. One of those 8 wave machines, the water did this, and the lid just jumped off, and the lemonade went all over everybody's table. All right, not a horrible thing, but, you know, it's not a great impression as a first date. But this is why I'm telling you a story. I got 2 looks that night, okay? The first was from the dad, and it was the look that said, you are nowhere near good enough for my daughter. And he was not wrong, okay, because I'm a dad of daughters, and nobody's good enough, right? But the second look was the interesting one. And if you're different in any way, you may have witnessed this look. And the look, now she didn't actually say these words, it was the mom, but the look in my head, I always hear, it's like, that is the saddest thing I've ever seen. That is so sad. Big eyes, oh my gosh, that's sad. And you can see it's like, how do you even function in life? Are you able to eat? Yeah, I'm getting food in. I get that look a lot. It's been really interesting here as I got to India. First of all, the hospitality here is amazing, right? It really is. But I stick out a little bit. I know this, okay? I'm a bald head, big longer. This is not the normal Indian, look. And it's always funny because they kind of see me, and you see people looking. They look at my head. They go, oh, okay. And they see my goatee, and then they see my hands. That's always when you want to do something fun, like stupid one-finger tricks. It's like, and you see them going. So I'm an oddity. I get that. So this is the look I get. That's so sad. That's so sad. So I figured this night could not get any worse, right? The bad thing of the date has happened. We're going to continue on. Here we go. So we get in the car, and this is the second part of the date. Now, I'm a son of a teacher and a music minister. So we had no money, okay? So this date consisted of, we were going to go to college with her parents, study in the library while her parents took their classes, and then come home, which I'm all for because I had no money, right? So we all pile in their car, and we go down to what was called Phoenix University, and her dad got out of class before her mom. right? And so he said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to take you to Mary Coyle's Ice Cream. None of you know what that is. I don't even think it exists anymore. But it was this really fancy ice cream shop across the street from where we were having college, right? And so we're going to walk through the parking lot. This is our truck. We're going to walk through the parking lot. We're going to come to the street. We're going to cross over the other side. Now, this is the first date, right? So I got my swagger on. It wasn't any better then than it is now. She's got her arm in mine, okay? Now, pause the story for a minute. Something you need to know about me, my feet are just like my hands, okay? No, hang on, that's weird. I don't have fingers on my hands. That would be creepy, right? I have one toe on each foot, okay? I can count to 4 if I take my shoes off. It's weird for everybody, but I can do it, right? So the reason, or what happens is because of that, is I have really bad balance. Now, when you're running and you have really bad balance, if you're running and you try to stop, you're going to fall down, right? So you need to run and you kind of slow down. Not that I'm going that fast anyway. I've never been fast. And then you stop. Now, this is important to the story, okay? Because we're walking. She's got her arm in mine. We're coming here. And we're going to cross. Now, in America, the cars are driving on the right side. So we're going to cross. There's no cars coming. We're going to cross to the median. So we're going to run to the median. Okay, y'all with me? We're going to run to the median, and I have no room to stop. And she's got her arm in mine. So we get arm in mine, we run to the median, and I've got no room to stop. But I just did it. Did you see that? I was running a lot faster than that. So this is when I learned about the transfer of energy. And instead of me falling down, I threw her in front of an oncoming car. Threw her straight out there. Fully laid out. Dad behind me, oh, I won't tell you what he said. It was not nice. So we get her up. I didn't get the ice cream. We walked back to the car. The whole time the dad was like, we get in the car. The mom comes out. Dad tells mom what happens. I'm sitting behind the dad so he can't reach me. Dad tells mom what happens, and she literally looks at me, and what was the look? She looks at me and says, that's the saddest thing I've ever seen. That's so sad. So I figured it cannot get worse, all right? So we get home, we get back to her house, and I go out, and the whole family's standing out front. Mom, dad, brother, sister waving at me. So I know the dad's out there like, I'm just here to make sure you leave, okay? I get in my dad's truck. Now, my dad's truck, anybody familiar with Mountain Dew? Okay, the drink Mountain Dew, some of you, okay. The cans that Mountain Dew come in are an ugly green. I'm just going to throw it out there. My dad's truck was Mountain Dew green, okay. It's really, really helped with my dating scene. And this is what I was driving. But my dad's truck was his midlife crisis truck, meaning it was fast. It could almost pull the front tires off the ground. It was so fast. It was ugly, but it was fast. This is important to the story. This was a 1976 Ford F-250. I got in this 1976 Ford F-250, and she lived right on a major street, so I had to turn through a service road. So one of the cool things of having one finger is I can just kind of put my hand on the wheel, drive like this, which looks really cool. Hang on, let me show you. Like this. Yes, I'm taken. Sorry. Like that. And so I got my hand on the wheel, and I start the turn. I crank the wheel all the way this way, and I just started the turn, and I realize I've got no lights on. Here's her dad watching me, judging me. So in a 1976 Ford F-250, the light switch for the truck is down on the left side right here. Okay? So what happened is, being the brilliance that I am, I had this hand driving, so I needed this hand to get to the light switch. So I reached through the steering wheel. Yeah, think about that. And I put my hand under there and I pull the switch. Well, that may only be one finger, but it's big and fat. It got stuck. So I'm literally stuck like this. And in fear, I punch it. Now remember, this is a fast truck. I punch it, and that truck goes, roar! And it comes out of the street, and I've lost control. It comes back over the little median and into their yard. Dad's backing the family up. And I get back out on the street, and I take off, and I literally drove home like this. And I get home, and my dad, who I said my dad was a teacher, my dad actually taught this girl in class and was her basketball coach. And I got home, and he said, how'd it go? I said, Dad, it did not go great. So I proceeded to tell him the story that I just told you. I was in tears. He was in tears because he was laughing at me so hard. This was my first date. But the interesting thing about this night, and it really was kind of a life-changing night. This is the night that I kind of went, hey, I'm different. I stick out. I'm challenged. Right now, I'm going to give you 4 things today. Right? You don't have to write them down, but you may want to. If you write anything down, I'm going to give you these 4 things. And the first one is this. And this is that night that I realized this. Now, I didn't go, oh my gosh, I have 1 finger. Obviously, that wasn't the challenge. But I realized that things go a little different for me. So the first thing I would tell you is this. We are all challenged. Now, this is very visible, right? Like, I was not kidding you. When people see me, I can't tell you how many times it's like, I'm like, hey, my eyes are right here. Because they're watching my hands, right? They see my hands, and I've lost all contact. They're not hearing me at all. Whenever, and Sheen can attest to this, whenever I speak, even technical talks, I do 1-finger jokes. Because if I don't, it's the elephant in the room. We can't get by it, right? So I talk about these. But I will tell you, and my wife would be the first to tell you, this is not my worst challenge. I have a lot more problems than this. But the reality is that we are all challenged, right? Every one of us in this room. And I don't know what they are. I asked for a list. They didn't give it to me. I don't know what your challenges are. But I know that you have something going on in your life going, how do I deal with this? Now, this is a personal thing, but it's also a business thing. It's when we step, this can be really interesting. You're in a university, you're in this sheltered environment. Teachers are here to help you, and all that's going on. But when you get into the real world, you're going to hit some walls. And today I want to talk about what do we do when we hit the walls, right? Here a couple of years ago, I was flying into Turkey. I was going to speak at a conference there. And when I went into Turkey, it's this brand new airport. It's a huge airport. And they got all set up. And I'm standing at a customs booth. And it's a line of people, 20 people. I'm standing there waiting. Finally, I get up to line, and I'm up front. And I hand her my passport. And she scans my passport. And this is what she does. And let me tell you something. If you're in a customs line and they do this, it's a red flag. She goes, And then she picks up the phone and she talks in a language I don't understand. And then she puts it down. And I said, because I'm behind the glass. So I look around the glass. I said, is there a problem? And she said, get behind the glass. I said, yes, ma'am. So after 20 minutes of standing there, nobody telling me what's going on, I finally said, can I just get back on the plane? They said no. So then 2 security guards, and I'm not talking with just a pistol, I'm talking full body armor, big rifles that I can't give you the number on, I don't know, but the scary ones. They come out and they stand on either side of me. And I being me, I'm like, hey, how are you doing? Okay, we're not talking? Okay, you want to talk? Nope, okay. So I'll just stand there. They stood on either side of me, and then they escorted me to a room. They said, Mr. Johnson, come with us. I said, no, thank you. They said, we weren't asking. Okay, so we walked back in. So I sat in this room for something like 30 to 45 minutes, and nobody would tell me what was going on. Nobody. I'd hit a wall. I was scared to death, I'm not going to lie. I'd never been to Turkey in my life, and I never thought I was going to get to leave. And so finally I'm talking, and I said, tell me what's going on. Well, they wouldn't tell me what to. Finally, this guy, they've got 2 guards outside. He's got a guard in here, and he says, here's the deal, Mr. Johnson. Somebody with your name, Eric Daniel Johnson, that's my full name, Said somebody with your name, and they never said is allowed to either come in or come out. You just weren't allowed to cross the border. And he said, so we're trying to make sure you're not this person. I said, well, let me ask you a question. He said, yes, how can I help you? I said, do you have prints on this guy? And he said, of course we have prints on this guy. I said, man, if you got more than 2, I'm not your guy. And it literally was like, and he picks up the phone and he makes a phone call and hangs up, says, Mr. Johnson, you can go. You may go with our apologies. I'd hit a wall. This was a scary moment for me, and I was like, okay, what do we do? All right? We'll come back to that story in a little while. But the second thing I want to tell you, we're going to talk about this a bit. Second thing I want to tell you, the first thing was we are all challenged. But the answer to that is how you deal with the challenge is the model by which others will deal with the challenge. Earlier I mentioned that the hospitality here has been fantastic, right? And it's kind of funny. I was at the hotel. This was back in Bengaluru, which I don't know if I say that right, but that's the best you're going to get from me. Back there, and I had a guy in there that refused to let me serve myself. He would, and we finally got in an argument. I mean, nice argument. I'm not going to argue, but I finally told him. I said, put the plate down. I'll do it myself. But he was like, no, I'll help you. He had assumed I could not carry or do or serve myself. That was the assumption made. Now, it didn't help that I had dropped a plate of food, but that happens. Everybody drops stuff. But he had made an assumption about me before he knew me. Now, the interesting thing is, after you watch me for a little while, I may do things funny, like hold my fork under my armpit, carry a cold Coke can, in my pocket or something, but I can do it. So I finally told him, I said, you need to put the plate down, and I'll do it. I am the model by which others will accept me, which others will know, they'll learn about me. If I believe I am incapable, there's all kinds of words we can use. Handicap. Handy-capable, I love that word. No, you're not handicapped, you're handy-capable. Okay. There's all kinds of words we can use here. But I define whether or who I am, and people will follow that lead. Right? So I'm going to tell you a story about that. Several. So I said earlier I have 5 kids. Okay? Our house is crazy. I have 3 boys, and then they were from my first marriage, and we got a divorce, and then I had 2. When I got remarried, I had 2 girls. My wife married into 3 boys. God bless her heart. It is a crazy house, right? And the interesting thing is watching the boys grow up. Something I haven't told you yet is 4 of my 5 kids are just like me. They have 1 finger on each hand and 1 finger on each, or one finger, 1 toe on each foot, right? So they're just like me. And the interesting thing is, as I've said, is I need to model what we do with this. Now, I was raised in a house where my brother was just like me, and it all started with my mom. She was the first one, right? It's her fault. No, I'm just playing. So she was the first one to be like this. So we were raised in a house that said, you can do anything if you put your mind to it. You are unstoppable. You just haven't figured out how to do something yet. That's a big thing in our house, yet. Right? So that's how we were raised, and this is how I was going to raise my boys. Right? So one of the things they hear all the time is, hey, Dad, I can't do this. You just can't do it yet. Right? You have to figure it out. And this is going to happen in your business world. I love it. When you figure out, when you're coding, 90% of coding is trying something over and over and over until it works. Right? And a lot of times we want to go, the first time it didn't work, it's impossible. Can't be done. Maybe I'll try it twice. Nope, can't be done. And someone will come along and go, have you tried? Yeah, I've tried everything. I've tried every possible permutation, can't be done. But that's not true. You just haven't figured it out yet. In our house, that's what we talk about a lot. Watching our kids tie their shoes, helping them feed themselves. The normal things that you do without thinking, we have to figure out how to do it. And it's interesting as I watch my boys, I've modeled this for my boys, and I would love to say to them, hey, your dad's okay being this way, so you have to be okay being this way. But it's not always that way. It is a personal choice. Listen to that. It is a personal choice on how you want to deal with something. And you may say, Eric, you don't know how bad my something is. You're right, I don't. But it doesn't matter. It's still a personal choice. My oldest son, Noah. Noah's 23 now. He has his own son, Ryder. Noah Daniel, Ryder Daniel, all after Eric Daniel. Ryder's awesome. He's my first grandson. I've given up parenting. I've said I'm not parenting anymore. I'm just grandparenting. But when my oldest son, Noah, was young, was probably about maybe 6 years old, we were driving down the street. Now, I need to tell you a little bit something before we get there. One of my jokes, I have all kinds of jokes, because people ask you all the time, hey, how did you get that way? And there are some days saying, it's just the way I was born. It's the way God made me, right? But some days you're not in the mood, right? You're like, look, it was a helicopter accident, shop accident. Like, you got both hands? Yeah, cut both sets of fingers off and my feet. Right? It's always fun too, because you know, one of my jokes I'll say is because people ask, "Hey, where are your fingers?" And I like to say, "They're at home in a box in the freezer." And the fun thing about that is nobody ever argues that. Nobody, not once has anybody said, "No, they're not." They always say, "Oh, okay. Okay, thank you." And that's the end of the conversation. That's the conversation killer, right? So, back to my son. My two sons are with me, but my oldest son, we're driving along, and he says, I don't know what made him think about this, but we're driving down a dark road and just kind of cruising along. I'm off in my thoughts, and he said, Dad. And I said, yeah, buddy, what's up? He said, where are my fingers? I mean, it's muscle memory. Without even thinking, I said, they're at home in a box in the freezer. And then he was like, and I remember looking in the mirror, and you could see him like, well, could I have them back? It's like, nope. So we pulled over, and we had the discussion, it's the way you were made. We talked about that and stuff. So it was about 2 years later. We were in a McDonald's, and this is parenting 101. You go to McDonald's, they play in the playground, you try to recover, right? So he's running around, his brothers and stuff like that. He's found a little friend in this McDonald's playground. They're having a great time, and they're running around, and all of a sudden, I mean, it's 30 minutes there, everything's been great, and all of a sudden I just see this kid start screaming in terror, and he's crying, and he runs away. And I went to Noah. I said, Noah, what happened? He said, well, he asked me where my fingers were. I said, what'd you say? I said, at home in a box in a freezer with my dad's. I was so proud of him, but then I had to go fix things, right? So I went over and talked to the dad, I went over and talked to I'm so sorry that happened, and we talked to the little boy, stuff like that. But the interesting thing was, Noah has kind of accepted this. He's decided that it's a blessing and not a curse. Right? And so that's the challenge right there. I entitled this talk Attitude of Iteration because it all comes down to mental decisions. It all comes down to mental discipline. I would love to tell you that every day I get up and I thank God for being this way. This is the best in the world. That is not always true. Sometimes I want to be able to play a saxophone. Oh, thank you. Sometimes you go, oh, this is frustrating. This is the reality of life, right? These are the challenges we deal with. But making the decision on a daily basis to say, I will deal with this. I will not be stopped by this. That's the win, right? It's okay to be frustrated. I'm not telling you, man, if you get frustrated, if your challenge stops you, then you're nothing. There I cannot do, okay? I cannot do pull-ups. But honestly, who wants to? Right? I will never play a saxophone well. Just the two notes, right? There are things, but the things that matter, I say this not to brag, but I say this because it's an interesting thing, is I actually was going to be a professional drummer. I'm a drummer. I play drums. And here's what I learned, though. Turns out I am a phenomenal drummer for one finger. But I'm fairly average after that. But you decide, so I end up, I have to figure out something else. But if you want to do it, you figure out how to do it. It's a daily choice. I'll tell you about my second son. My second son, it was really interesting because I was listening to the presentation earlier and talking about the robotics and things like that. My second son, for a couple of days, had a GoFundMe account for people. He wanted to get a robotic arm, and then we had long discussions about that. But my second son, Jake, he goes to ASU, which is Arizona State University. He's about 6'4". No, he's about 6'2", I'm sorry. He's quite a bit taller than I am. He's built like a football player, and he is as weird as it gets. Now, and I'm not being mean. If he were standing right here, you'd go, yeah, I'm weird. That's true. He's funny. He's fun, but he's weird. Now, I remember one day we were trick-or-treating. And do y'all trick-or-treat here? Okay, you know what I'm talking about? Okay, good. All right. So we trick-or-treat, basically you walk up to houses, you ask for candy on Halloween. There it is. If you don't know what it is, it's basically a scam to get candy for free, right? And so, but you dress up in costumes. And we live in Colorado. In October in Colorado, it might be cold, it might be not so cold, so you never know what the costumes are going to be. But we're trick-or-treating, and we're walking around, and we're to the last house, and we're tired, we're exhausted. And it's the very last house. This is really interesting. As we were walking up, we could see this house was decorated all pretty. And they had these, it was like sparklies everywhere, and they were getting ready for the next holiday. And we look in the window, and here's these two little girls. They're two twin girls, like 6 years old. They're both dressed up as like fairies or pixies or whatever. They're just looking so pretty, and it's all cute. And it's like a fairy tale in this house. And my son goes up to the door, and it's got this big window in the door. And he knocks on the door, and you see inside the little girls go, we'll get in. And they're running all fairy-like and stuff to the door, and they get it. And right when they get to the door, my son, for some reason, I do not know, he stands right in front of him, and he goes, I got 2 fingers. And man, the fairy tale was over. The girl, they're crying and they're screaming and they run off, and the mom comes running in and the dad comes running around. The dad looks at me, and I'd like to say it was like, oh, that's so sad, but it was not. It was like, what is wrong with your son? And I didn't know what else to say. I just simply said, I too have 2 fingers. Thank you. It's a funny story. It's a joke. We have a good time. But the reality is, Jake has decided this is something we're going to have fun with. This is who I am. This is the challenge. I'm going to beat it. I'm blessed, not cursed. Okay? So keep thinking of that. So that's the second thing. How you model that is the model by how others are going to deal with that. Now, there's once in a while, I'll come back to that story in a minute. But I'll come back to that. So the third thing is this, okay? No excuses. It's really easy to say, hey, I can't because. There's a lot of things in our life where we go, I cannot because. And they may be physical differences like this. They may be mental issues. It might be financial issues. It might be skill issues. It might be whatever. And folks, I'm going to tell you this. You're going to find this in the business world. It's really interesting to hear developers say, well, I couldn't because so-and-so didn't make their mark, or I couldn't. And there's a lot of their fault, this is the challenge, it wasn't me, I can't do it, thus. But like I was saying earlier, well, I tried twice and it just didn't work. Bosses, managers, people, stakeholders, they don't want to hear excuses. They want to hear, we tried everything. Now, I'm not telling you that, I mean, there are some things like I've tried so long so that it didn't work out. But it's interesting how many people will say, I can't, before they ever tried. And if you come to me and say, I can't, before you've ever tried, I'll tell you, go back and try. And that's what we do in our family. You have to go back and try. When I was raised in a house, like I said, where you didn't take breaks. There were no excuses. When I was a little kid, I changed schools. When I was going to 6th grade, I changed schools to go into 7th grade because I was getting straight A's at the school I was doing. I mean, it's the best grade you can get. Apparently, I was not a good student. It was a bad school. So my parents moved me to another school, and it was quite an experience. But when I went into this school, one of my best friends, his name was Mark Trombino, was a little person, okay? And he was 3 feet tall, still is today. He was a very short guy. And so we became, just that oddity, our oddities together, we became very good friends immediately. So one day we were in class, and I recognized he finished class before, or finished all assignments before I did. Every time he'd be like, I'm done. And I'd be like, I'm not even halfway done. So one day I said, how do you get done so fast? He goes, oh. So here's the deal. One time the teacher asked me, does it hurt to write? And I said, yes, it does. So she said, I only had to do half the assignments. I said, so you only do half the assignments through this whole semester? He goes, yeah, I only do half the assignments. So that next day, man, I went in and I was writing on my assignment. I'm like, ow, oh. So finally, she comes up, she goes, Eric, does it hurt to write? And come on, all you 5-figure people, does it hurt to write? Yes, it hurts to write. If it's going to get you out of half the assignment, does it? Like, yes, ma'am, it hurts. And that's what I said. I said, yes, it hurts. She said, okay, you only have to do half the assignment. And so that's what we did for a semester. And life was great. Until I came home and I don't know how many, there are probably no other parents. Sheen, you can, anybody parents in here? Raise your hand, I want to know. Okay, so just Sheen and I, right? Okay, so Sheen, you can attest. A lot of times parents will ask questions, and as kids you should know this. We ask questions we already know the answer to. We just want you to see what you say. And I remember my mom, who knows everything, I've learned later in life, knows everything. Okay? Her joke was, I don't hear everything, but what I don't hear, God tells me. That's what she says. It's like, oh, okay, and I believe it. So I remember coming home, and she said, Eric, let me ask you a question. Are you doing half the assignment in Mrs. Whatever's class? And I said, yes. Because I knew she knew. I figured out. I said, yes, that's what I'm doing. She goes, okay. Okay. You know that's not how we handle it, right? I said, nope, that's not how we handle it. So here's what she did. First of all, she tore me apart. I got the chewing out. That took way too long. Then she grabbed me by my ear, because that's what she did. And remember, my mom has one finger like I do, but she can pinch like nobody. Those are lobster claws if I ever saw one. So she grabs my ear, and she puts me in the car, and we drove to the school, and she dang near made that teacher cry. Now, I'll tell you what she said in a minute. And then she grabbed my ear, and we got back in the car, and guess where we went? We went to Mark's house, where she told Mark's mom. And then they tag team like WWE. They jumped in the ring, and they took turns just tearing us apart. And Mark and I had to go back and do the entire semester's worth of work for them. Now, here's what she said to the teacher. She said, if you set expectations low, that's all they'll meet. If you instantly say they're going to fail, and you don't think they can do it, that's what they'll meet. If you set expectations high, that's what they'll meet. So here's my challenge to you. When we want to say, I can't because this is stopping me. You need to have the discipline to say, I'm going to set the expectations higher. One of the interesting things at AWS is we have a thing called bar raisers. And when you come in, you want to get a job at AWS, and you go through the hiring process, they're going to bring someone in. They may have nothing to do with the role you have, but one of their jobs is to say, is this person better than 50% of the people in AWS? And if they don't think so, they have the power to go, no job. And it happens. I've seen it. Okay? If you are, then they're going to encourage that, right? So your job is to be the absolute best you can be, regardless of the things that are challenging you. You make the decision. So, first thing, everybody's challenged. Second thing, you're the model by which everybody's going to deal with your challenges. Third thing is no excuses. And here's the fourth thing. Have fun. And Sheen hit on it. What's a successful engineer? It's someone who likes what they do. I'm saying it much simpler and probably less, elegant, but it's someone who enjoys what you do and just happens to get paid for it. In 1984, I told you my brother was just like me. My brother's the loud one of the family. I'm the quiet and shy one. What are you laughing at? Just kidding. My brother, 1984, he was in a band. They were in a marching band in high school. He played trombone, whatever. And so anyway, him and his buddies, they went, so the whole band went to SeaWorld. And has anybody heard of SeaWorld? Do you know what that is when I say that? Okay, it's basically, it's like a theme park, but it's all about sea animals. They have killer whales, and they got dolphins and all that stuff. And it's huge. It's in San Diego, California. And so they took the whole band there, and when they were there, they decided to have fun, right? So my brother went into the killer whale petting tank, and he took the shrimp that or the squid that you feed him, and he put ketchup all over the squid, and he put ketchup all over his hands. And then he threw it in, and he came out screaming. And they closed SeaWorld for several hours. This was a crazy event. And it's funny. It's fun. He got in a lot of trouble, and it was it wasn't in the news, but it was all kinds of things. But the point is, he was having fun. He was having fun with the challenge that he's dealing with. He was having fun with life. Sometimes we get so caught up in what's beating us down, we forget to look around and just have fun. And I know that seems simple. Our family is one that has always handled everything with jokes. We've handled everything with laughter and tears. And again, I want to go back to this. I want to tell you, it is not an everyday thing. In our family, we have this, got it. I got 4 minutes left, so I'm not going to go over. So they were trying to get someone that could get my attention. So, all right, yeah. But our family has this thing. And one of the jokes we have, I'm going to tell you this last story, and then I'm going to wrap it up, is we have so many people, and I know this sounds arrogant, but we hear it a lot. They say to us, you're an inspiration. You're such an inspiration. And that's great. I'm glad to be an inspiration. But my youngest daughter, I remember the day we were out shoe shopping, and there was a place where they had all these shoes on sale. And my older daughter, who has 5 fingers, so it's my 3 boys are like me, and my youngest daughter is like me. My one daughter, the older daughter, is not. She has 5 fingers and 5 toes. It's not her fault. We still love her, but she sticks out, right? And but we could find all kinds of shoes for her. But my youngest daughter, we couldn't find any. That's the hardest thing for us to find shoes. And I remember she was probably 8 years old. I remember her crawling up on my lap. And she said, Dad, I don't want to be an inspiration anymore. I want to be normal. I remember as a dad, I'd love to tell you that I said something like, oh, your fingers are in the freezer or something crazy like that. But as a dad, I just cried with her. I said, I understand. Sometimes it's hard. But, and this is the saying that you hear all the time in our house, it is what it is. And so this is the challenge I give to you. And all the things I listed. But at the end of the day, life is what it is. It's not what it should be, what it ought to be, what it was, possibility of what it will be, but it most definitely is what it is. And you will find joy in life and in career. I know it sounds like I'm just telling a bunch of personal stories about my family, but in your careers, when you learn to accept the joy of where you are and excelling to go forward, rather than being hampered, hindered, handicapped by the challenges that you think are holding you back. It's a personal choice. Life is what it is, but you can choose on how to handle it. And with that, I'm going to wrap up with 3 minutes left. I did it, 3 minutes left right there. So, and I'm glad to answer any questions, but I appreciate your time. Thank you. You will not offend me, I promise you. I've had the question, what does your footprint look like? Looks like a wet snail. Good. Okay.
Questions? No, they don't have questions.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
Danish, help him out.
I don't know if I turn this off or not, but
What of thanks to do? No. Sir, please. Yes, so thank you so much, crowd, for being here with us. And my heartfelt gratitude to both the speakers. We had an awesome session. Thank you so much. And here you go.
There is nothing like a vote of thanks that is ChatGPT generated or something, but heartfelt thanks to both speakers. So we have been actually, things have been crazy if you are working, or even right now, you might be filled with a lot of assignments, attend this session, go there, do this, take the certification, something. But today, I think we all took a moment to see what's happening in our life, what we could do for ourselves, and what's ahead, opportunities that lie ahead of us. So for me, it surely took a good moment for me to think about what I can do, and behind all this hectic schedule. And this is, trust me, like these sort of sessions are not like we have done before in other communities or something, but this especially very unique, and both of the speakers have come up with that. Okay, given that the student crowd that we are going to have, we can speak something like this. So I think thank you so much for both of the speakers, and especially I like to thank both the college management of St. Joseph College of Engineering because they have taken immense efforts to make this happen. So for that, a small token of gratitude, I'd like to invite both Karthik sir and Jeevitha and Rahul to come on stage. Sir, please. So this session is also live streamed, and it's recorded and available in YouTube channel. So both the AWS User Group Madurai's YouTube channel as well as St. Joseph College of Engineering Cloud Club YouTube channel is there. So this video will be available. So whenever you feel something that you wanted to go back and see what's there, feel free to do so. And with that, over more than 200 folks coming from 3 different cities, I think it's a huge success, and I myself feel very happy that it all went very smoothly. And the people who are behind the backstage, like in the backstage who helped me a lot, is Jeevitha as well as the college management, Danish, and all the folks over there. So without them, I don't think so this would have been possible, and all the folks who have been in the hybrid location as well. So thank you so much, everyone. And I hope everyone have taken something from this sessions and going back. So that's it. Thanks, everyone. And,
Thank you so much, sir. Like, without you, this event wouldn't have been possible for us. And I guess it's time to disperse. You can go down and have your tea and snacks. Guys, you can leave. Thank you.